Do you want to do the intro, Nate?
Welcome once again, everyone. This is Coffee Talk, Monday mornings, San Francisco time with Julie, myself, Nate, and we have a special guest today, Cindy. We haven't seen her in a long time. Hi, Cindy.
This is like the original Coffee Talk group, though, because
This was when Nate was stuck in India.
yes, and I was like, who wants to have coffee and just chat? We're all stuck at home.
Yes, the conversations really were awesome and fun, and just the energy. We wanted to keep going, and I love these conversations. So
Yeah, it's really nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
So, Julie, you said the topic today is, of course, this most recent Saturday was Global Bars Day, where people around the world were busy doing bars, gifting and receiving bars, and there was a global stream which you can still access. We should probably post that, how to do that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
On the comment, yeah.
It was really quite phenomenal. I love the day because with so many thousands of people all over the world doing bars at the same time, the energy is just so much greater, and I had, I think, 4 people who had never experienced bars before that I gave sessions to before I had a trade myself, which was really cool. Like, even now, with everybody not wanting to go out, not wanting to mix with other people, having 4 people show up, we spaced it out and they were by themselves and all of that. But it was awesome. And they, like, you could really see the difference of the space and the relaxation in their world. How was yours, Cindy? I know you went to another.
Well, it was really interesting because I woke up and it was like Christmas morning for me. It was just like I could feel like the space. Like when I woke up, I was just like, yes, like there was just this yes in the air. This, like, it was just so light, and so I just went online really quick to stream what was going on, and I was just like glued. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to receive bars and I wanted to gift bars. I didn't really have anything quite scheduled. I just knew I was going to go. I knew a couple of events that were happening, but I was listening to the conversations and I was just moved to tears, grateful for what people were creating in the world. And it was like, yes, I was like, yes, more of that, more of that. And this is probably my 5th Global Bars Day that I participated in, whether I was helping to host or gift people that were new and receive. But this was the first time that I really felt like the energy of the bars without gifting and receiving it for the first time, if that makes any sense. It was really a beautiful thing, because usually I was like, I want to get my bars run, and I'd get really frustrated because there were so many people new. I mean, I was grateful to give it, but I wanted to receive. There was this kind of like me, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool. Like I could just feel myself energetically receiving. I could feel myself gifting, and so when I laid down, it was like, it was awesome, but it was like, it was all like,
it was almost like almost no difference, but
no,
a little
it
bit.
was a beautiful, and I'm just grateful, to be in your space and in your boutique, and yeah, just being around people that were really open to receiving, and I think that's the gift of the bars, receiving.
And they had some really great content on the live stream, things that I haven't heard them say before in quite the way they say it. One of the things, when I closed up my location and went to my sister's in the city, I was listening while I was driving, and Dane was talking about energy and how, people always say, I don't perceive energy. I don't know what energy is. I don't get it. And they're like, tell me how you perceive energy, Dane. And he's like, it doesn't matter how I perceive energy. Everybody perceives energy different. And when he was saying that, it was like a whole bunch of stuff opened up. Like, if you think that you have to perceive energy the way you think you have to perceive energy, you have all these blinders on. And
Mhm.
the more he explained it, and the more he's like, how do you perceive energy? And don't try to compare yourself to other people. And everybody's going to have totally different awareness, even about the same thing. That's
Mhm.
why interesting point of view is so dynamic, because your one point of view or one other person's point of view isn't the only thing that's going on. There's so much more available. And when you don't put the blinders on and you don't have an idea of what you think it's supposed to be like, all of a sudden you have this flood of totally different awareness, and
Mhm.
it's it's amazing.
Yeah.
And even when you're speaking about like bars and bars, am I muted? No, I'm not.
Mm-mm.
Speaking about like bars and bar sessions, you know, every bar session is unique. In some bar sessions you fall asleep, in some bar sessions you're like awake and you have a conversation, or you might watch a movie. Like it's different every time. And so there isn't like the right way to get a bar session or to gift a bar session. And the same thing with perceiving energy. Even if, I mean, you're not going to perceive it the same way even every time, right? So
Mhm.
um but I know that especially when you get into doing something like an SOP session, you look at the way other people do it and you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be like. And you try to like fit your behavior, you try to fit your session into like what you've decided it's supposed to be, when, like you said, it's how you do it, right? It's
Yeah.
it's your it's in point of interesting point of view, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, and close your eyes and just
Mhm.
perceive what you perceive, and yeah, it's
Mhm.
it's super cool.
Yeah. I remember after I received my first bars, and I remember going to the grocery store and just feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, there's just too many people. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm I'm usually okay with going out in public and being around a lot of people. And hello, I would lived in San Francisco for 10 years. Like, what's going on, Now I'm in this small town and I go to the grocery store. There's not like, why do I feel so overwhelmed? And what and what I started to see was that I was just more aware of other people. And because I had, put up I didn't realize I had put up these walls, over the years, to like discern certain energies or discern certain people's judgments or whatever I chose to do. I didn't realize I was doing it. So I just stopped going out. And my sister's all, what's going on? Like, this is so not you. Like, I just can't go out. I feel overwhelmed. But she's like, well, and she shared some of the other tools that Access has, like, who's this belong to? And I was like, oh,
And expanding.
and your allowance. So I
That's
started doing that.
yeah.
That was what was great, because you do become more aware and you do pick up on a lot more things, but you're the invitation to receive more. So I just, maybe you want to share a little bit about that, your own experiences with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I didn't have that so much when I first started receiving bars. It was like not much of anything. And um, one of the people in the class, because it was in part of foundation, so it
Mhm.
wasn't its own thing.
Mhm.
And I was part of a three-way trade, and it just whatever. Um, but there was one other person in the class who said he does it 3 times a week. I'm like, 3 times a week? What a fucking waste of time. Like I had a really negative point of view about it because I didn't really necessarily get anything. But I thought, if this guy has been doing this 3 times a week, I wonder what it is about that. And so I went home, I traded with my husband at least once a week. And then I set up a trade every Wednesday night. And that's when I set up the Wednesday night bars trades. And the more I did it, the more I started to recognize that um, it wasn't, it may or may not have been during the session, but the times between the session, I would have less overwhelm I would have less triggers. Like if somebody cut you off or somebody said something rude, I didn't react. It was like, "Huh, whatever, doesn't matter."
Mhm.
And so I noticed a whole lot more space. What about you, Nate?
Well, I mean, from the first time for me, it was very memorable. Like I remember my first bar session, and I definitely was aware of something. And in fact, it was like 15 minutes in, and we had to stop because I was laughing too hard. Like I was laying down and just like tears coming, like laying back, tears coming down the sides. And Brenda was doing my bars, and she like we had to stop because it was just like, and there wasn't really anything funny. It was just like this lightness and laughter. And I also remember it was in the middle of the winter, and I don't obviously have a lot of hair. And I walked outside into the cold air, and I could feel every single little bar's point on my head. It was like
Wow.
really, like the wind would blow, and I was like, oh, yeah, it was so cool. But yeah, immediately I knew like I needed to do more of this because it was such a light feeling, and it was one of the first times I knew that I was like out of my head, because I'm very like head trippy and
Really?
always, yeah.
No, what? No.
And yeah, so it was just so cool to do that, and know that that was possible, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, one thing that a lot of people do when they get their first session, at least nowadays, what I'm hearing a lot of feedback is they're like, "How did I do?
Yeah.
What did you notice? Like, tell me your prescription of what's wrong with me, basically, or what did I
What if,
get or what happened?"
There's
what if,
someone, yeah, there's someone, and what she does is after a bar session, she tells the person which bars were very intense. She's like, okay, so it seems like you might have some money stuff going on. The money was really intense, and then there was
Oh my
something in
God,
communication, and I was like, oh
that
what?
is so disempowering.
my goodness, I couldn't believe it. So
Wow.
I'm super happy that bars is spreading to so many people globally, and I'm so happy that so many people are doing bars. And I
Yeah,
just,
how many
uh,
100,000 people have has it been a million yet?
I think it has. I think
Do
who
you
have
know
had a session?
the what's it called? Bars 365 group?
mhm. I think they were
Well,
talking.
in that Bars 365 group, not everyone has had a bar session. There are people in there who are like, I'm thinking about getting my first one. What should I do? And everyone's like, just go do it.
Right.
Like, why
But
are
I know
you?
there's 100,000 bars facilitators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my internet connection is a little fucked up.
And
There's over 100,000 bars facilitators. I know that.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And I was looking at some of the numbers in Asia and in Japan. At the time, it was at 14,000 people had taken a bars class. So they weren't bars facilitators, but it was like they'd at least been through a bars, which means their bars were done twice minimum, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool how it's growing.
I also get that the more people and the more bars have been run over the years, the easier it has been for people to learn it, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the beginning, people were like, what? And now they just put their hands right there. It's just so easy. But it also seems like it's more dynamic than it was 18 years
Do
ago.
you find that when they run your bars, they like it's faster? Like you can like you're almost
It
done?
can be. It
Yeah.
can be. Yeah. I mean, I've done 10-minute sessions on people in you know, different circumstances, and like their entire life changes in 10 minutes. It's like, seriously?
Yeah. I don't know about the faster for me, but I mean, I still would really enjoy a 4-hour bar session.
Yeah.
It's not,
Bars in a movie marathon.
yeah.
What are some of the fun changes that you've noticed either with yourself or with other people that bars was the instigator of?
Do you have anything, Cindy?
Can you say it again? I kind of like didn't quite understand the question.
What are some examples of
have occurred either for you or for other people from bars?
For me or for other people? Well, just recently, my niece found out she was pregnant, and she was a little distraught because she was like, I don't want, she found out when she was 3 months or 4 months. And I go, how could you not know? You had 2 babies, you know, like, how could you not? She's like, I just didn't think I've been protecting myself, we've been, you know, and so, yeah, all this stuff. And she just felt really disconnected. And I can almost see her spiraling into this like judgment of herself, you know? And I was just like, well, what's right about all of this? What's great about it? She's like, I just don't feel connected to this baby. Like, I don't feel it. I don't sense it. And then I go, well, would you like me to run your bar? And she's received before, you know, and I usually am very apprehensive. Like, do I run bars when people are sick? Do I run, you know, I have this one person that gets seizures. I'm concerned about running her bars and her getting a seizure, you know, so I'm like very fearful, but it just came out so naturally, you know, 'cause she's pregnant. And I'm like, what if I hurt, you know, it didn't even come up. Like, what if I hurt the baby? And I go, do you like me to run your bar? And she said, yes. And so she laid down and she's like, can we do a quick one? 'Cause she knows they last like an hour to an hour. She's like, can we do like a quick one, 20 minutes? And I go, sure. Less if you want. So she laid down and I ran her bars, and I asked her some questions. And when she got up, there was just this space in her, like her presence, something shifted, and she just smiled and she just said, thank you. And after that, there was just this joy of being pregnant, this joy with the baby. Because I said, what if you're so connected with this baby, she's no different, or he, I kept saying she. She's like, I don't know what it is, but I kept saying she. I go, what if you are just more connected than you think, you know? And it was funny because when she was, you know, when she was laying down, I think at that time she was like, I can't remember how far along, but, you know, she was like, the baby's moving, like it was like really excited when I was running the bars. The baby was like, but something shifted for her, and it was so sweet to see. And it was just one time.
Awesome. That
one time for 20 minutes, and the baby's just such a gift, and she sees that now. And you know, it was hard for her at first, but so that was for me like something so quick and so I don't know, sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not like you have to keep doing it again and again.
And she did have a girl. Like, how did I know?
Yeah.
See, when you started that story, I thought it was going to be another situation where a woman got some bars done or attended a class and then became pregnant, kind of. I mean, it's hard to say as a result of, but it's happened so many times that, like, there was an Australian woman and she's like, well, I had another like access baby because she went to the COP class and she ended up getting pregnant like the week after or something.
Wow.
And she had usually something difficult for her to get pregnant, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, she already had 2. She was kind of finished. She wasn't really trying anymore, a little bit older. And it's interesting, the conversation of regarding babies that I've heard, that sometimes beings are waiting for that space to open up, and then someone makes a greater choice, and then the being is like, all right, now it's time, you know.
Whether you're ready or not.
Right. I'm
And
coming in.
they're probably more ready than they give themselves credit, you know, like they're more
Sure.
ready to
Yeah.
receive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
right, as
remember.
soon as she wasn't feeling well, like I think back in April, when, you know, I think she was probably a month or so. I go, "You're pregnant." She's like, "Don't say that." Like I already knew. I was like, "You're pregnant." I said, "No, stop saying that."
Is this a special gift and connection that you have with like babies and pregnant women that you should pursue?
No, with beans, light beans. That's the gift that yeah. I'm
Oh,
acknowledging that. Yeah.
good.
Awesome. I had a client in my shop. When was it? Last year? No, it must have been the year before. And she was just really contracted and really upset and worried about some sort of future court date thing. Anyway, she was looking for a necklace so that, you know, she could have her power. And I was like, you know, why not just sit in the chair for 5 minutes and let me do this thing? And I literally did her bars for 5 minutes, and she went from contracted, worried, fearful to like huge and oh my gosh. And like it totally changed. She came back for a full session the next week, and like she's a whole different person. I could not believe it. And the court thing went really well. And like it's just everything can open up, everything can change if we give it space. And that's what the
Yeah.
bars are about, giving space.
My favorite story so far from mine was a girl who had been in Korea for a while. She was born here and then adopted to an American family and had like a horrible upbringing with it didn't work out very well. But she returned to Korea and she worked here for a while. And then she tried to connect with her birth parents and like wasn't able to do it. It was like struggling, nobody could connect, but they couldn't find them. She was with like some TV program trying to do it. And anyway, I told her I was doing bars and she's like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." So I ran her bars. And then the next day she's like, "Oh yeah, they found my parents." I was like, interesting. Like they'd been at it for a couple months. And then I did her bars. And then the next day, you know, suddenly it all came together.
Wow.
And when someone's had their bars run just one time, even though you know that that had the effect, it sometimes is a hard sell to them because they think it's coincidence still.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
yeah, or
why.
they think, oh, well, I also, you know, did this other thing. So that must have finally kicked in.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's
That's why I
almost
always like. Go ahead, Cindy.
No, that's why you like. I said it's almost like we relax into the possibilities of what can happen instead of contracted to the conclusion of what we think is going to happen. I think that's what happens with the bars a lot. It's just this open space of possibility. And yeah, because I before I felt like I knew a lot, I've done a lot, I've practiced a lot of different things. So I am aware, I am conscious. But it's almost like I had this, I don't know why this popped in my head, but the other day I felt like, you know, the hamsters that go around in the little wheels, you know? I was thinking, who could do this cartoon? Or is there a cartoon out there? But you see the hamster in the little wheel, and there's a little hamster going, come out. There's a whole world out there. Let's go move. I am moving. I am doing stuff. I am busy. Look at me. And I felt like I was the one moving on a hamster wheel, you know?
Yeah.
Busy, moving. And not to say I wasn't creating great things. I was, but I wasn't exploring other possibilities. I wasn't exploring other wheels. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and then there's this other ease of creation that kicks in when you let go of the wheel.
Yes.
You know, last night I started watching this new Netflix series. I think it's new. I think it's called life after death or something like that, where they're exploring near-death experiences and mediums and stuff. And to me, it's so hysterical that they have these whole teams of researchers and stuff that they've been doing for years, and they're like, we just don't understand how, when when the brain shuts down and there's no consciousness, how the person can be outside of their body and know all these things that are going on, and when they come back in. And it's like, I so much want to go to those places and say, you guys, like, when the brain is functioning isn't necessarily what consciousness is. Consciousness is the being. And yeah, there it is, surviving death. And like they have no clue. And all the stuff that Shannon has been exploring with Talk to the Entities and all these other tools with Access Consciousness, like I just want to go and say, here's a whole bunch of research for you that will make your journey so much easier, because they don't understand it at all yet. So interesting.
Yeah, that's something that I have kind of been looking at the last couple of weeks is, I mean, with the changes going on and the way things are changing so dramatically. And I was just curious and looking at, like, at what point will consciousness and at what point will the tools be mainstream? Because I feel like it's almost at the point where it would just take the right celebrity or just a couple people to dive in and say, wow, bars changed my life, and suddenly it would just explode. It would be everywhere. Like, it would just take that one quote unquote like legitimate person, whatever, media personality, to get behind it and say, this isn't crazy, this is actually life changing. And then it would just be, yeah, it's at the point where I feel like it only would take like just that one or two people.
Celebrities like the other stuff, like ayahuasca and stuff like that, because it's, hip and spiritual.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, how many people have you heard talk about getting your bars done as like having taken drugs but not having taken drugs? I mean,
the best of the drug experience without the side effects and the after effects of feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Especially once you get into the advanced classes, the body process classes, it's like, wow, some of those, you can't drive for a while. It should be a little side note.
Well, I mean,
it's like you become drunk on life, high on life.
Because things are moving.
Necessary.
There are some of those ESC sessions where Dane starts and he's like, if you're listening to this in your car, like, don't like
turn it off.
Like, make sure you're somewhere that you can like just chill for an hour and a half while you kind of.
Even at the global bars, he did the ESC at the end, right? At the global bars, that was the last segment. And I was talking to someone, and as we were talking, I was listening to the ESC, and I was like, okay, I needed, because I had like a 40-minute drive back home, and I go, I think I need to leave now. Because I was starting to go into that space, and I was like, I'm gonna have to drive. So I listened to it later when I got home, and I was just like, okay. I listened to an old one, that was the same one, huh? That he played, the one from April. But so I listened to the ESC and then just went to sleep, because that's the thing with those. It's like a meditation. It's like you really, the body starts to relax, and they're awesome. All of them are awesome.
So,
well, hey, we're at the top of the hour, and it's time to go into my other group and do the expanding exercise.
I'll
so, wow, what a fun half hour, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Nate.
It's so good to see you as well. You look great.
Thank you.
Must be all those bars you're doing.
I think so.
Maybe you'll join us again next week. And if anybody has a topic that they want us to discuss, send us a message before next week, and perhaps we'll use it.
or you can come on. What?
Yeah.
Fun.
Who wants to come on? Have coffee.
Yes. All
Well,
right.
thank you very much, Cindy
you.
and Julie. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Mwah. Bye.